Rosh Hashanah this year is Thursday, Friday, and Shabbos, right? 3 days straight. Sunday is called Sem Gedalia. Sunday is a fast day. Why do we fast? We fast because there was a certain leader of the Jewish people, his name was Gedalia ben Achikam, that was killed. And when he was killed, the Jewish people had to left Eretz Yisrael. It's after the destruction of the first Beis HaMikdash, and it was a big disaster. So he was killed on either the second day of Rosh Hashanah or on the day afterwards. But this year, since day after Rosh Hashanah is on a Shabbos, so usually we would fast the day right after Rosh Hashanah. This year, because Rosh Hashanah goes straight into Shabbos, we fast on Sunday. So Sunday is a fast. It's not such a strict fast like Yom Kippur or like other fasts, particularly because it's pushed off. But it's a fast. We say slichas, we say Avinu Malkeinu. Read the Torah like a fast day. And afterwards, we have for the rest of the week until Friday, until Erev Yom Kippur, we say Avinu Malkeinu. Besides Tachnun, we say Avinu Malkeinu by Shachris and by Mincha. That's another thing we do during the 10 days of Tshuva, the week between Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur. And it's a time, why is it called the 10 days of Tshuva? Because this is a time to do Tshuva. We do every day of the year you're supposed to do Tshuva, but especially during these 10 days, these are the days that it says that Hashem is close to every single Jew. When the Jew davens these days, Hashem is much more ready to accept his prayers, even though maybe he's not at the right level he has to be, more than the rest of the year. That's why it's called the 10 days of Tshuva. It says a person is supposed to make a cheshbon hanefesh. You know what a cheshbon hanefesh means? A person is supposed to look through his actions and see if anything needs to be corrected. It's also you're supposed to ask before Yom Kippur. We're supposed to ask forgiveness from our friends or from anybody that we might have hurt their feelings or done anything bad. We're supposed to make up, become friends again before Yom Kippur. So, the 10 days of Tshuva, it says actually that the interesting thing that that Rizal brings down, that the week between Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, there's exactly 7 days between Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur. So each one of those days rectifies all the previous days of the year of that day of the week. For example, the Shabbos between Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, that elevates all the Shabbosim of the previous year. The Sunday between Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur elevates all the Sundays of the previous year. So it's a very special time, and every mitzvah that we do in this time has very special significance. It says a person should try to do tshuva on the sins that he did. If a person isn't sure that he did a sin, he needs to do even more tshuva than if he knows for a fact he did a sin. Why? Because if he doesn't know he did the sin, he thinks, maybe I didn't do anything wrong, so maybe I don't have to worry about it. But if he knows for a fact he did a sin, he knows he did something wrong, he's not going to do it again. But if he's not sure he did something wrong, he's not going to think he did anything wrong. So if somebody does something which he's not sure is a sin, he needs to have even more repentance and more regret than something which he knows for a fact is a sin. Now, on Erev Yom Kippur, there's a special mitzvah. First of all, we do kapparos, right? You know what kapparos is. We'll speak about kapparos maybe a little bit later. But on Erev Yom Kippur, we have a special mitzvah to eat the amount of 2 days, because you're going to fast on Yom Kippur. So we have a mitzvah to eat the amount for 1 day of Erev Yom Kippur, and also the amount of Yom Kippur itself. There were certain tzaddikim that whenever they ate, they only used one hand to eat. You know that? When we eat, we use 2 hands. We use a fork and a knife, right? Or we hold a plate, we hold the food, and we hold a spoon or a fork. There were certain tzaddikim that only used one hand to eat. The Rebbe, whenever the Rebbe ate, he only used one hand. One hand was down, and he would eat with with the other hand. We'd only use one hand to eat. So it was, sometimes it's difficult. When you have chicken, let's say, right? You have to take off the skin or whatever it is. You need to hold down with one hand and take off the skin with another hand. But the Rebbe, it was the way the Rebbe used to do it. He'd only eat with one hand. But the Rebbe says that the Rebbe's father also was the same thing. The Rebbe said that his father, when it came Erev Yom Kippur, he would eat with both hands. He would use both hands to eat. Why? Because it's a special mitzvah to eat in Erev Yom Kippur. Very special mitzvah to eat in Erev Yom Kippur. A person is not allowed to fast in Erev Yom Kippur. In Erev Yom Kippur, we actually have two meals. We have one meal we have earlier. So Rebbe Rashab used to eat it before midday, after Shachris. The second meal we have is the Suda HaMafsekes. Suda HaMafsekes is the meal that we have right before the fast, the last meal that we have before the fast. Another minig is that we eat kreplach. Know what kreplach are, right? So in Erev Yom Kippur there's a minig to eat kreplach. A few times a year, there's 3 times a year that people have a minig to eat kreplach. On Yom Kippur, and on Purim, and also on some people also have a minig to eat it on Hoshayna Rabbah. But I don't know if that's minig Chabad, but minig Chabad is I think definitely on Yom Kippur and on Purim, Erev Yom Kippur and on Purim. So we have like this. In Erev Yom Kippur, we don't eat things that are heavy. Let's say chicken or fish. They don't stay in your stomach. They don't, right? They digest quickly. But if you eat meat, animal meat, so then that it stays in your system. So another thing we don't eat on Erev Yom Kippur is we don't eat eggs or garlic. Eggs or garlic. But milchiks, right? Let's say you want to have milk or butter, things like that, you could have in the morning, but not by the second meal, not by the meal. But the second meal that we eat before night, you're not supposed to eat anything that's spicy. Also, it says they're not supposed to put salt. Also, it's brought down in other places. So we have 2 meals, and we have to make sure to finish eating the meal, obviously before the fast starts, right? So you don't eat shumshimim. Shumshimim is sesame seeds. In Erev Yom Kippur, because it comes back up on Yom Kippur. Like this, it says on Russian, it says a bit of a similar thing. It says you don't eat nuts or things like that on Rosh Hashanah because there's a lot of saliva and it's mevatel the tefillah. But here it's a different chashash. You're going to eat sesame seeds in Erev Yom Kippur. I think sesame seeds, because they're so small, they keep coming up. So you're going to be eating it on Yom Kippur. I think that's what the chashash is. There's some people that go to the mikveh before they daven mincha, and Erev Yom Kippur, and there's some that go after the Suda HaMafsekes. They go right before Yom Kippur, after the meal. Some people go a few times. They go before mincha, they go after Suda HaMafsekes, but the main time of going to the mikveh is before mincha. Before we go to the mikveh, we also do malchus. You know what malchus is? We take a belt and we lightly hit him 39 times, what we used to do when there was a basin that used to give malchus. So in order to arouse people to do tshuva, we have a minhag that we give malchus. We take, we say hurachum, there's a way how to do it. And when you give malchus, a person, he kneels, he doesn't lie on the floor, but he bends down and he faces north. Why does he face north? Because it's brought down, there's a pasuk that says that Mitzafa in Zohav Yasa, it says gold came from the north. Now most people, why do they sin? Why do people sin most of the time? Because of money, you understand? It's a big problem. Money is a big cause for sin. People need to make money, so they they're not so honest, they push away certain mitzvahs, they don't have time to daven, they don't have time to learn, they need to go make money. So money comes from the direction of north, that's where gold comes. So a person faces north to remind a person that the reasons for his sins are because he's focusing too much on money. If he wouldn't focus on money, he wouldn't sin so much. So that's one of the reason why he faces north. We ask mechila from anybody that we might have hurt their feelings during the year, right? Also mincha Erev Yom Kippur, we say al chet. We say on Yom Kippur, we say al chet. You look in the matzah, I'm sure you know the al chet that we say. But we also say, the custom is that we say al chet, mincha before Yom Kippur. You see in the machzor, in the new machzorim, they have mincha before Erev Yom Kippur. It opens up as kaparas. And there's mincha before Yom Kippur. The mincha before Yom Kippur, at the end of the Shemona Esrei, is a whole added few pages of al chet that we, there's a regular Shemona Esrei. When you come to Yul Ratzon, right after Yul Ratzon, right before L'Kain Etzor, you'll see this whole edition here, Shamnu al chet, and then finishes off L'Kain Etzor, and that's then. So this is at the end of the Shemona Esrei. You'll see if you either use a siddur and you turn to page 301, or ask somebody to show it to you, or maybe in the new machzorim they printed already in the beginning. Now if somebody asks you forgiveness, we're supposed to ask other people forgiveness. If somebody comes to you to ask you forgiveness, right? You're supposed to forgive them right away. Don't tell them, come back to me tomorrow, I have to think about it, I have to see if I want to forgive you. Jewish people we forgive right away. Person is not supposed to wait until Yom Kippur to ask forgiveness, because if somebody hurt somebody's feelings, they're supposed to right away say they're sorry, ask for forgiveness. But particularly before Yom Kippur, if there's anything that's there, we have to try to be careful, because the Satan, he tries to find, he sees that this missing Avos Yisrael, he tries to use that out. So comes Yom Kippur, we want that the Satan should be worried about his own problems. He shouldn't be trying to find sins of the Jewish people. So it's very important that everybody should be at peace with each other. Okay, now we're talking about Yom Kippur a little bit. There's two reasons why we wear a kittel. Married men wear a kittel. One reason is because we want to be similar to the Malachim. What does it say about the Malachim? It says about the Malachim that they're pure, right? Malachim don't wear clothes, but white represents purity, right? So that's why we wear a kittel, which is a white, clean garment. There's another reason for wearing a kittel, because a kittel is the type of thing that they put onto a person after 120 years, before they bury him. So when a person will wear a kittel, it will cause them to do tshuva, complete tshuva. I'll do a little bit about kaparas. Some interesting thing over here about kaparas, different things. The Ramah brings it down, and the Alter Rebbe brings it down. But the Alter Rebbe, there's a Shulchan Aruch, and then there's the Siddur. In the Siddur he adds, gives the explanation of the Arizal according to Kabbalah for kaparas. In the Siddur, in the Shulchan Aruch, the Alter Rebbe writes, you take a male rooster for a male, a hen is a female, right? Take a hen for a female. He says, Zeh chalifasi, zeh tmurasi, zeh kaparasi. What is the significance of these words? It says, chalifasi, tmurasi, kaparasi is Rashi Tevis, ches taf chaf, is Rashi Tevis, chatach, is a shame, is one of the names of Hashem, which represents choyse chayim l'chol chay, that Hashem slices life. Like portions, gives like a slicing a cake, you give a piece of cake to every person. But Hashem cuts life for every individual. So it's an Indian Zeremes that Rebbe brings it down to Shulchan Aruch, chatach, chalifasi, tumrasi, kaparasi. This name, there's other famous Ramazim associated with this name. put it around your head. You say, say 3 times you say 3 times Chalifas Masi Kabros. Every time you say it, you swirl it around. Now, Alter Rebbe writes in the Sidra Pi Kabbalah, he writes that you take a white rooster, because a white rooster, he says, is called Gever. In Hebrew, in Lashon HaKodesh, a chicken, a rooster, is called a Gever. A person is also called a Gever. Modern Hebrew called today Gever, Geveret, So a person is called a Gever, and a white chicken is also called a Gever. So I guess I don't know exactly what it represents over here. Maybe one thing is that it represents is that it substitutes a person, which is called a Gever. Maybe it's also Miloshin Gevuris, Beisenschluss, Cholif. It says you shechted. Now the main thing of Kaporis is not so much the swirling over the head according to Kabbalah. The main thing is the shchita. The shchita, it says it's done b'shmeiras haboker in the morning watch. The night has 3 watches, 3 parts. The third part is called shmeiras haboker. It says you do it after slichas. They used to minig is Chabad, we don't do it, but other people they say slichas during Aseret Simei Tshuva as well, not just before Rosh Hashanah. So do it after slichas because then there's a chut shel chesed, there's a string of kindness that is graver bo'ilam that is in the world at that time. By shechting it, you are machnia the gevuras. By shechting it, you are subduing the gevuras. This chicken represents gevura, and you take out from it its blood. Taking out the blood is like in of mituka gevuras. You are sweetening the gevuras, similar to like banging the aravas and a shine rab has the same thing. And it's called kapora, like a soda mishalech. You have in Kabbalah, you have another source. I'm not going to get soda mishalech. There's one of these things that are hard to understand. But the sending the goat off the cliff, it's also in of mituka gevuras, whatever it might be.
Basically. So that's all for men, women, whatever. And pregnant women?
Pregnant women, the Alter Rebbe says like this. Alter Rebbe says that in the Shulchan Aruch he brings 2 opinions. One opinion he says that for a pregnant woman you take a male and a female, a rooster and a hen. Why? Because if the baby is a male, so you have a male. If it's a female, so 1 chicken is enough for 2 females. The Alter Rebbe then adds that the Alter Rebbe says v'yeshnoig. Another opinion is that you say you take 3, 1 male and 2 females, because you don't patter the mother with the baby.
Yes,
and that's the opinion that Alter Rebbe.
So it's supposed to be done with the chicken.
Yeah, it's davka male. Yeah, because it's called gever. I think in Russian. Yeah. Now Alter Rebbe writes here. He says from the Shulchan Aruch it seems that they wouldn't necessarily do it with a chicken. It seems they could do it with the. It says the minig is to take a tarnagel, but he says that if you don't have roosters, you could take other bali chaim. Other bali chaim v'kapara.
Fish.
But
they do fish.
They do fish.
Yakas do fish.
Again, I think Kabbalah stop get chicken. Another thing is he says that you take white roosters. Why? The reason he gives in the Shulchan Aruch is because he says your sins will be like red, like a red string that will become white like snow. In the Siddur he says the reason is because it's called Gever, Api Kabbalah, but he says but you have to be careful. He says if you have, in those days they had chicken coops, in their backyards. So if you have a white chicken, to take a white chicken instead of a black one. But he says, but if you don't have them near you, you shouldn't dafke go after them. Why? Because he says that a moidim is called dachi amoiri. Certainly you're not allowed to follow idol worshippers' way of doing things. He says they had the amoiri, they used to dafke go to try to find white roosters to bring us sacrifices for their idol worship. So you're not allowed to do something which it appears that you're going in their ways in some degree. So if you have white roosters, take them. But if you don't have it, the dafki go after it. He says it's a problem. Now, according to the reason brought down in Kabbalah, the way that Rebbe writes, it's that you do it Erev Yom Kippur in the morning. Well, mamish, I mean, because of the finances and other things and the lack of time, people do the Armin Hagim, our sources say you could do it during the Seres Tshuva as well. But again, it's the best way, if possible, is Erev Yom Kippur early in the morning. Kaporis is to give it to poor people. Those days, that's what they used to do. The Rebbe writes, it's best to keep the chicken for yourself and to give the money to a poor person. Why? Because the poor person thinks, "Oh, spinach," and you're schlag stuff me kaporis. So, and they got embarrassed, so it says to give them the money. Another thing is brought down, again, today's day and age you don't do it for obvious reasons, that to throw the intestines and the liver and the kidneys on the roof or in the courtyard that other birds could eat. Because to show Rachmanis on the birds, same way we're showing Rachmanis on the birds, it should have Rachmanis on us, Shemayim. We don't do this for hygienic reasons. Anyway, there's another thing, Stam, the minhag, is there's the Shabbos, there's the Shabbos Shuv, the Tshuva Licht. This year, so they had to light it before, get a candle that could light before Rosh Hashanah to last through Shabbos Shuv.
For Yom Kippur?
No, in other words, they say to light it on Yom Tov this year, that it's Yom Tov, so to light it on Yom Tov for Shabbos, and it's not necessary for Shabbos, just a minhag. There are those that are not happy with it, so they say to light it
3-day candle.
The 3-day candle.